Well, this is my favorite question, so I have to ask you because it's the one I get every time I talk to anyone is what is a typical day in your in
It's
your
I have
life?
heard that question many times in
Yes.
interviews for sure. Well, I'm sure you and everyone in sports everywhere would say there is no typical day in sports. I think we kind of break it up into here's a regular game day, here's a regular non-game day during the season, and here is a regular maybe off-season day without an event.
Yeah.
And there are similarities in all of those things, but then there are always things that can pop up and completely derail a social media day, whether it's with your team, a specific player, um, ownership, a coach, a world event, anything can kind of stop every plan you had and completely pivot you somewhere else. So I think there are normal things we have. We have a project management system that kind of has a list of everything we need to go through for each day. It's very flexible. So, anytime we have a partner and they want certain content, we might plan for it and we say, hey, this can go out anytime over the course of this 2 week span. Like we will update the rules if it's a contest and we'll let you know if you need advance notice, maybe an hour. But ultimately, we're on this like roller coaster of the team and last night we win but before that we're losing like terribly, and like the emotion of our fan base and the willingness to consume certain types of content is massively shifting all the time. So yeah, lots of stats, lots of things that are kind of like normal, like every game day there's a bit of a cadence of certain things that have to go out, but ultimately everything is just like flexing around all the time. So
Yeah. It's always organized chaos is what I always say. It's
organized
like
chaos.
we plan for everything we can, but then, 2 seconds later, we may have to redo the entire week of what we had planned.
Totally.
But yeah, but I always have to ask the typical day, and then my other favorite one. I won't ask you this because we all know this one, but it's like, what do you do in the off season? It's like, well, there really isn't much of an off season,
No, there's a couple months where we are not playing hockey.
and that's it. Yeah,
It is not really an off, like it's
yeah,
not like off season.
it's just
We are
no
not
games to
off
cover. Yeah,
during off season.
yeah.
Um,
Oh man.
just so everyone knows, I don't need to answer that whole question, but
Yeah.
yes,
Well, that's
work is
I
busy.
yes, all the time. It's like it's planning and strategy and recap season, or it's game coverage season. There's no off season. It's just a full blown season at all times.
Always.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember the first vacation I tried to take when I was with the Steelers after my first season. I was like, I'm going to go up to Canada to see my fiance at the time, now my wife, who lives outside of Toronto. And I was like, I'm going to go up. I was still the only person who did any posting or anything on social. So I was like, I'm going to go up. I'll check back in once I get there. And I think I was 2, maybe 3 hours into the drive, and Heath Miller came into the building and said he was going to retire. And so,
Ah, that's big news too.
yes, so I like pulled over to the side of the highway and I'm just on the phone with my bosses for like an hour talking about like, what do we do? Who's going to post it? What graphics do we need? Because I was editing all the graphics at the time too. So it was like, it was nothing that we could have planned for. It was just like this thing that came out of nowhere happened. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we all carry our computers around like in our department everywhere we go. Like I'll go out to a family dinner and either I will have my backpack and my computer or I will have texted my whole team, is someone available from like 6 to 8? I'm going out with my family. Like I will have my phone. Is someone around in case something goes down? And until I get that yes, that backpack and computer is absolutely coming with me. My team knows when I'm on a flight. They know when I'm in a movie theater. They know where I am at all times and I know where they are too. Like, we're right now it's holiday season, right? Like I know who's flying when, who's driving, who is completely unavailable having dinner with their grandmother or their sister-in-law or whatever,
Yeah.
because at any moment something can happen and we need to be ready, even if we're off, like this
Yeah.
is not
You're always
stuff.
on call, that's for
Always
sure.
on call. I mean, it's funny. It's like on call, which sounds like so serious and like a doctor or like somebody who really needs to be on call, but ultimately they are like the team is relying on us in that same capacity. I don't think it's always quite as serious as some other people that are on call, but it is
Sure.
important that we're there. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I know we're definitely not saving lives or doing brain surgery by any
not
means,
usually.
but yeah, but there's a lot that goes into it. It's funny. Well, so going into kind of like the strategy side of it, we talked a little bit about like the unplanned. That's such a big part of what we do. It's planning for the things that are coming up, and then how do you plan for the stuff that isn't on the calendar? And so like maybe take me through your process of like how do you stay organized but flexible, like you were talking about in the best way?
Yeah, so we have a project management tool called Workfront. So I think that's the first thing is having some tool to keep all of the requests organized. Um, and that's what we use it for. So whether it's ticketing, meeting promotion for a specific game, or a new partner is being sold and they need ideas for digital, social, or an upsell, or I don't know, big events coming up and we all want to plan in one place. We have like Yager's jersey retirement is coming up. A lot of things are going to go into that night, and all of the things that we are doing in game and digital and PR wise, and specifically with him and with partners, and um, being able to kind of see all of those things and figure out how they fit together is a big part of social, because you need to make sure you're there to cover the event. You have the right graphics, the right logos, you know what you have rights to. So yeah, that's a big part of it is organization, specifically for us in a project management tool is really helpful. And we don't have like a calendar per se, but the project management tool has like planned completion dates and they're always adjustable. So I have everything that's due for today, and if I need to move something to tomorrow, I can comment in there and say why, and we can move it back 3 weeks if something gets pushed. Um, but yeah, keeping organized in a uh, sports social media landscape is definitely a task. I write out a written to-do list every day, in addition to my digital to-do list, just because not everything comes in as a request. There are a lot of things that kind of need to get looked at and figured out, and um, it's hard. You definitely need to be organized. I think that's essential if you're
Yeah.
managing a digital team these days in sports.
Yeah. No, the amount of shared documents that I have with like my team
Oh
and
my
our
gosh.
content team and our marketing team, and even like you said, like checklists for me of like, I need to get this stuff done instead of my team. It's so crazy.
It is so crazy. Yeah, there's so many moving parts. I mean, I think about how many projects we're all working on, and I mean, we have specific campaign projects, right? So we have ticketing campaigns that are going on, and something like the Yager campaign, and it's like there are so many of those big campaigns with so many individual tasks and pieces in there going at one time, and they are all swapping all the time to the next thing. So we might be running like a festive five ticketing deal right now, and it's like, okay, on December 27th, like maybe I'm off that day, but it needs to come out of the app that day and then move immediately to a new app card, and then we need to pull out a banner ad and report on a social post. And yeah, it is essential to have some kind of tool, because it is
Yeah.
way, way, way too much stuff to manage by memory.
Well, and in sports too, it's like social it's kind of in this middle, not gray area, but it's kind of like you draw a spider web. It's like social ends up in the very middle, and it's like partnerships and ticketing and community and the players and baseball ops and like all of these different things all feed into basically, depending on how big your team is, there may be, two, maybe four, maybe six people who are like, all right, well, we have to basically manage all of the goals and all of the needs across the whole organization on top of what your goals are on social and what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think you were talking about it before. It's like finding something that's creative, but then also like analytical. And I think social is like right in, not only in the middle of the organization, but like right in between that, like left brain, right brain. Like you're doing so much creative and so much ideation of video ideas and content. And then there's so much reporting and like really looking and like, did this work and why did this work and how could this look on a specific platform and why should we make a slight adjustment to make this better for the future, better for an algorithm change or whatever is going on. So I think it's interesting. Sometimes I'm in meetings where I'm like, I know what everyone is about to report on because we are so central to like any big thing going on in the organization. Social usually is touching it, and like obviously for me, like overseeing some marketing and digital stuff too. It's like even if social's not part of it, website is part of it, or the app is part of it, or we're marketing it in some capacity on email or whatever. And it's interesting and it helps you learn a lot. I think that's why so many people who started in social kind of got thrown into like figuring out what to do at the very beginning of the social employee days are becoming leaders within their organizations in marketing, right? They say like the next CMOs are all like become from like a digital space. And it's crazy, but it's also like throwing you right into the fire. Is like, this is how you learn best and you know what the organization's trying to do. So
yeah, for sure.
I love it. I mean, it's wild, but
it's scary too. Like there's so much out of your control too, right? Like not only with like the team and the performance and the players and things like that and world events, but also like the platforms, like the places where we post stuff and reach all the fans. Like they could change at a moment's notice. Something new gets brought to the table. Like it could be so stressful and just like crippling anxiety thinking about it. But it's like, it's just part of your day of like, yeah, well, we got to figure it out.
yeah, like how many social platforms have you like downloaded on your phone thinking this might be the next big thing and like just squatting on like a certain account name? Yep. Oh my God, I had so many that I was like, this is gonna be it. Like I downloaded it and I'm like, this is great. Like I'm trying it out personally, seeing like if this is gonna catch on. No, never.
Mm-mm.
It never is the one that catches on. You never know what's coming.
Never. Well, and it's hard too, because it's like if one of the platforms, like say X, Twitter, like just disappears from the planet, it's not like the Pirates.
Which is a real fear.
Yes, which could very well happen. But like it's not the Penguins and the Pirates that are going to be like, all right, well now we're going to update fans here. It's going to be your fans are going to go somewhere and you're going to have to meet them there, which is, again, it's just there's so much out of your control that you just have to figure out.
Totally. Yeah. And then these platforms, you might have a strategy and want to do something a certain way. And like midway through the season, you'll have an approved graphic or strategy for something and the platform changes and you just can't do it that way anymore. And you're like, okay, hey, like this thing we agreed upon at the beginning of the year that we've been doing for a couple months, no longer a thing. And that's not our fault. Like this is just how the platform has changed. And yeah, you got lots of adapting for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even just about like making the best content too. It's about making the best content that the platform wants you to make. Like if you know that TikTok, I had an alert that said like you should share more photos on TikTok. The performance is better. It's like, well, there's your like cheat code to say, okay, well, I guess we need to do more of that on TikTok because they're telling us that this is what they want to see. And if TikTok wants to see it, they're going to push it to more people.
Which is like wild because those things can be so widely different in how much time and effort goes into them, right? So like you might already have a photographer somewhere taking photos. You can kind of cut them and put them on TikTok. But do you remember when live streaming was like the thing that everyone was pushing? It was like, oh my God, live streaming everything? Like, okay, do we need, like, are we live streaming from phones? Are we live streaming from cameras? How is the audio? Do we all need external microphones that are connecting to these cameras and phones? Like, if we're live streaming, do we need a mount for the phone? Do we need like a
Yep.
table? Because now, if we're live streaming coach every day, what if he's talking for 15 minutes and you're like there, like, oh my God, I remember like putting phone like on the back of a chair and like trying to like balance and be comfortable. But yeah,
Oh,
I mean, it definitely changes all the time. Like this season, I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, but on Facebook, we're seeing video like way down from viewership,
yep.
but then photos, text only, like links way up. And I feel like for years they've said, we want video, we want long form video,
Yep.
and it's not working.
Yeah. Oh man, that just gave me just flashbacks of standing. I remember every day after practice at training camp with the Steelers, I would have to live stream Coach Tomlin's press conference on the field, holding my phone on on Instagram Live. And it was just like you said, he talked for 5 minutes one day, and the next day he talked for 25, and you're just like, oh, come on.
I know. And like things too, where you're like, you're holding a microphone maybe, and then you're holding a recorder, and then you need to take a photo and you like try and put the recorder and the microphone together and like try and take out like something for the phone. It's sometimes it gets kind of crazy. Because people don't see what all that looks like in the
Yeah.
background. There's like a photo of me with like, I forget, I don't remember what it was. There was some event where it was like I had my camera, I had my phone, and then I had those like Snapchat spectacles on, and I was like recording in like 100 different ways at the same time. You just never know when something's gonna pop up, and you have to be ready. And it's
Yeah. Well,
oh my God, yeah, wild.
if you find that photo, send it to me, and it will be displayed right now on the podcast.
Okay.